Okay, so on our next one, we have y equal x plus sine 2x going from negative 2 pi thirds to 2 pi thirds. And so the graph looks like this. That's the original graph. So it involves the double angle of sine. So the first step would be write your y equal x plus sine of 2x, and that's your interval. And then we're starting to get our derivative. The derivative of x would be 1. Then the derivative of sine is cosine. This is a plus in front. Cosine of 2x. And remember that you need to take your derivative to the inside also. And so you end up putting the 2 in front, because you don't want to think of that as cosine of 4x. It's 2 cosine 2x. So that's the first step. And then we need to use our intervals. So the first thing I just wanted to point out is if you do x plus sine of 2x, if you're in degree mode, it's not going to show up right. And so make sure you change it to radian mode. And so it's going to look like that. And then there's a specific interval we're interested in, obviously. And we're also going to put 1 plus 2 cosine 2x. So those are our first two graphs. I'm also going to go to the table settings, menu table settings. Whoops, that's the control table. Menu, window settings, and I want this to be from negative 2 pi thirds to positive 2 pi thirds. Okay, so this is a lot better picture. So what I did was graph it, and the great thing about these graphs, the trig graphs, is they're symmetric, and so you can figure out halfway between is where the point is going to change. So the inflection point on sine and cosine graphs occurs halfway between the interval. And so what that means is if we went from negative 2 pi thirds to 0, that negative pi thirds would be what we want. So on the red graph, I got the negative 1.047. And again, the blue graph is the original, and then this is the y prime. So the negative 1.047, to remember how to get those numbers, negative 2 pi thirds is negative 2.094, and negative pi thirds is that one. So that x-intercept would be what we're interested in. So that's our x-intercept. So it's the x-intercept of the red graph. So that's negative pi thirds, comma 0. And then the other one would be the positive. Menu, analyze. I'm just going to do 0 the graph. And it asks me what graph I'm looking at because it's got two choices. I just click the red graph, and then like from here to here is the positive version of the same thing. 1.047. So this would be positive pi thirds, comma 0. So what we need to do is split this up from negative 2 pi thirds to negative pi thirds, and positive pi thirds, and positive 2 pi thirds. So this part of the assignment is a lot like what you've done before. So this was our boundary, this is our boundary, and we've just got to check different values in there. And when you do that, you'll end up seeing that this is minus, this is plus, and this is minus. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so the first step on this is to choose numbers between negative 2.09 and negative 1.04. And so I just decided to try negative 2. It's a pretty easy number to work with. And so when I do that, I'm going to look at x is negative 2, and I see that I get a negative 0.3. in the table for the derivative. And then when I go to 0, I get 3. So that's going to be positive. This other one was negative, of course. So that's how you get the negative. That's how you get the positive. And then at positive 2, we got negative 0.3 again. So that's negative. So that's how you end up with this information. So out of everything I've written so far, the most important things to write are, you don't have to put the word graph, but that and that. And it was the x-intercept. Okay, so that's our first step. And then from those places, we know that from here to here, if you're going from negative to positive, means increasing or rising. So your negative to positive indicates a change. Indicates a change. I'm trying to go very slow on purpose to help y'all out. So our boundary was from negative 2 pi thirds to negative pi thirds, and it was negative so it's falling. And same thing from pi thirds to 2 pi thirds. So both of those are where it's falling. And then it's rising from here to here. So that's where it's rising, from negative pi thirds to pi thirds. So after that part, I decided, when looking at the maximums and the minimums, require exact answers. So I'm going to skip, in this case, on trig problems. So we would have had to get negative 2 pi thirds plus square root of 3 over 2 and plus square root of 3 over 2. And so that looks a little more complicated than the depth of the high school course. So we're going to skip number 5.